Like you guys, I am stuck at home learning how to work out, doing these at-home workouts, and there's a lot of them out there that are really power-based, a lot of, sweaty, cardio, HIIT yoga workouts, and even though those are really great as a yoga teacher, I wanted to provide a workout that focused on feeling safe, enhancing the immune system, and really grounding, because I think that this call to settle in and go within can translate into the kind of movement that is best suited for us. So I'm going to show a quick yin yoga flow that's really tuning us back into feeling safe, feeling grounded, and from that space of openness to receive that by virtue will enhance the immune system, because once we aren't fighting and once we are able to not recalibrate the system but have the system respond well to our environment, we can find that we respond much better to external circumstances. So to get started here, I'm just finding a comfortable seat. You can find any seat that you are comfortable with, and from there just bring the palms to center, heart center, taking a deep breath in. One more sip of air. Once you get to the top, really feeling that connection from the back of the spine as you root down. And then a big breath out, letting that go and thanking yourself for showing up to your mat to feel better on your own terms. So from here, the first pose we're going to get into is a child's pose. So taking knees as wide or as narrow as feels supportive. I do have open hips, so I prefer to have my knees wide, but if you do find that is a lot of tension on your hip flexors and on the lower back as you lower, you can always bring your knees together. And we're just going to start out here and take some deep breaths. Feeling the palms stretch forward, and in this child's pose, you want to think about your tailbone reaching back towards your hips as your heart space melts more towards the mat here. And as you're in this child's pose, letting the third eye really melt down into the mat as you think of feeling safe, feeling solid, and grounding within. As you're slowly rising up, we're going to find all fours for some cat-cows. So for these cat-cows, you can press the tops of the ankles really firmly down onto the mat. Make sure that your hands are underneath your shoulders. On the inhale, arching the spine, looking up, engaging the pelvis for your cow pose. Really think of actively pulling the belly in towards the spine. And then as you exhale, rounding within for your cat pose. For these cat poses, think about allowing the shoulder blades to melt as far away from each other as possible and contracting in as you breathe into the back body. So now making this yours and really feeling into what kind of cat-cows your body is asking for. So you can stay in just the normal cat-cow. You might take some side to sides and feel yourself really opening up the hip space as you press down into the palms and the tops of the ankles. Always an option to flip the palms in or out to the sides. And feel yourself rounding and opening up the spine. From here, finding the palms melting back down towards the mat. Tucking the toes, lifting the hips up and back, downward facing dog. And since this is probably your first down dog of the day, maybe your first down dog of the evening if you're using this as an evening flow, the down dog format, you want to think of lifting the hips up and back. So take as deep of a bend into the knees as you need to feel your tailbone release. As you can see, for my down dog, I take a pretty substantial bend in the knees, and that allows me to find length in the back body. So even though my heels are not close to touching the mat, I'm feeling myself here lengthening up the spine. On your next breath in, rippling forward into a plank pose just for your inhale, and then lowering all the way down to the mat on your exhale. As you breathe in, find a baby cobra, and for these baby cobras, you want to think long in the neck, not tense and looking up, more just looking right in front of you. You might even hover the palms as you press firmly into the tops of the feet. And then as you exhale, we'll take it back into a downward facing dog through some bent knees. As you breathe in, reach your right leg up high and avoid your furniture if you're also practicing in a small New York apartment. But in these down dog splits, you can think of keeping the hips neutral, so likely that means spinning right hip down. As you breathe in, lift up 1 inch higher, and then exhale, bring your knee to your nose and step it through between the hands. We're gonna find a low crescent lunge Anjaneyasana. So as the feet presses down, we're aligning the knee over the ankle and then allowing the hips to sink as low as is comfortable. If you feel a lot of tension in the lower back here, lift up to something like this. If not, without falling, as I tend to do, because this is like a balancing pose for me. I don't know, always has been, maybe because my hips are kind of wide for my frame. From here, making sure that the knee is over the ankle, and then from the grounding of your back left pinky toe, the arms lift up, and you find yourself pulling up from the front body as you melt down the hips. So this is opening the hips forward and back, and it's also asking for some core engagement. So even in these more grounded poses, we want to always use the core rather than dumping into the lower back. On your exhale, you can melt the hands down, and keeping the left hand down, lift the right fingertips high for a lunge twist. If you want something a bit more active, you can tuck the toes and lift the back knee, but I'm really feeling this more restorative, more grounded variation. So as you're here, making one big line with right hand coming right out of right shoulder, and then exhaling behind you to reach for the foot or the ankle if that is available. If not, you can just keep it down, but this can open up the quad and give you a nice stretch in that left leg. Breathing the right arm high as you inhale. Then as you exhale, bringing the right hand down, we'll take it back into a downward facing dog. Breathing in as you look forward, and again, lowering all the way down into your baby cobra as you inhale, opening up, and then exhale back into your downward facing dog. We're gonna take that on the left side and even things out. So as you breathe in, left leg reaches high, and if you want that bend in the right knee, as you can see mine is, that does help you extend the left leg high without rounding the back. So one more inhale with those neutral hips. As you exhale, rounding within, then stepping the left foot between the hands, touching right knee down, and finding your low Anjaneyasana crescent lunge. So left knee is over left ankle as you find your balance. Setting up the hips, making sure that there's no crunching, there's no tension in the lower back, and then lifting the arms high. So as your fingertips lift high, make an effort to melt the shoulder blades down. You want to feel this engaging the core up and out, not tensing the shoulder blades back and down. So as you pull up, root down through the hips and find that openness. And as I said, if this does feel crunchy in the lower back, you can totally lift up into something with more 90-degree angles. But if you do have that openness already, you can lean into that here. On your exhale, melting the hands down, right hand stays down, left arm lifts high. You have that tucked variation, or you can hang with me after, a long day of feeling kind of that collective tension. You might want to take things down to the more grounded route with me, but you're thinking of a wingspan here. So you're not splaying, you're really opening up. And then if you'd like the right foot with the left hand, you can totally take that. I have pretty open quads, or actually I don't have any tension in my quads because I don't build muscle there. So if that is not accessible, you can totally take your range of motion, but that does feel really nice if you have that openness. As you exhale, lowering that hand down, stepping back into your downward facing dog, rolling forward into that plank and lowering all the way down onto the mat. Baby cobra here as you breathe in, downward facing dog as you breathe out. We're going to come into a three-legged dog with the right leg high. This time open up the hip. So by open, you're stacking right hip on top of left and cross-referencing down with right fingertips to keep the shoulders level. You can make little circles, open up this hip joint, really feel yourself flipping open the right hip. And then as you exhale, bring it across and through for your half pigeon. Making sure that the left leg is straight behind you. And as you can see, this is not parallel to the front of the mat. This is my variation that allows me to keep the straight spine up and the left leg straight back. So if you want to play with any variations like reaching back or taking a twist, you can do that. And then we're all gonna meet coming all the way down, making sure that as we lower, the right foot is flexed to protect the lower back and the knee, and then lowering as low as is comfortable for you. You can use any props or padding, or even take this on the back and reclined pigeon too. We hold so much tension in the hips that when we release that, often we find so much more acceptance to be here in the present moment. So slowly lifting on up, we'll step it back into a downward facing dog and take this on the left. So left leg lifts high, you find your grounding, and then you open up the hip, stacking left hip on top of right, cross-referencing down with left fingertips, and taking whatever motions, open up the left side before you bring that through for your half pigeon on the left. Left shin is down. Importantly, right leg is back behind you. With your proud chest, if you took any variations on the other side, you can do so. And then slowly with the flexed left foot, we will lower all the way down and find that openness in whatever way works. Downward facing dog just to even things out, and then setting the knees down, taking a breath here before we do come down onto our backs, making sure that the ankles and knees are aligned. We're coming up into a quick bridge pose just to open up the spine and the hips and give us a bit of elevation. Being receptive, opening the heart and the hips here. Lowering on down. Bringing the knees into the chest, feeling the lower back press down into the mat. And then letting the hips go an inch to the right as your knees fall to the left and you take a supine twist. These twists can wring out a lot of stagnant tension and are great for releasing felt tension that might be in the core if we feel like we are holding on there, making that a bit lighter with what we attach our ego to. As you breathe in, bringing the knees back through center, and then hips go an inch to the left as knees go to the right. You can allow that supine twist to fall over. Hands can be either cactus, blade, or on the body, letting the gaze fall to the left, and if you'd like, closing the eyes to allow this. we're going to come into an optional shoulder stand. So for this, the hips lift up. If you have a block, that is great underneath you. Otherwise, bringing the hands underneath the spine and thinking about aligning in a way that doesn't contract the neck. So that might take a bit of adjustment. Legs up the wall is also great. I could do that, but I'm too lazy. But lifting the hips and just allowing that blood to come down and playing with some variations, maybe such as plow or tractor, feet coming back behind you or back behind the head, and seeing that embody that lightness, that release as you're here. Gently we'll bring the knees down, bring the hips down, and come into Supta Baddha Konasana. So if you have blocks, I have some blocks, but I don't need them for this pose. If you find that butterflying the knees out and kissing the feet together is really hard on the knees or the hips, blocks underneath the knees are going to support you through that. So I'm going to just keep my knees open as I have open hips, but Supta Baddha Konasana is kissing the feet together, the knees out. Hand can be on the heart and the belly, and if this is not working for you, you can go straight to Shavasana, but after opening the hips, this is a really beautiful receptive pose to further allow the body to feel safe and turn on that parasympathetic nervous system. Gently coming out of that into our final resting pose of Shavasana. Just laying here and allowing ourselves, if you've come off the mat like I have, coming back, but allowing yourself to fully receive the benefits of this practice and tell yourself it's okay to feel safe. As you gently breathe, reawakening the body, bringing little movements to the fingers, the toes, and eventually we'll step the feet down. Usually I cue people to roll to one side. I don't like to roll to the side. I actually like to come straight up. However you need to, we'll come back to that comfortable seat. Just connecting with the breath here and remembering that no matter our external environments, no matter what is happening around us, we have a choice here to declare the vibration we're going to come at things from. That amidst a lot of uncertainty, amidst a lot of movement, amidst chaos, we can choose to find that internal bliss. And even if that takes a lot of rerouting, because there's a lot of external contrast, that the power to align is always within us. And that's the beauty of coming here onto the mat, is that that is so available for us. So hands to heart center, finding that comfortable steady spine, breathing in, holding at the top, taking in one more sip of air, and then exhaling, letting that all go. Hands coming back to the center, thumbs coming to the third eye, the seat of intuition. The practice is never ending, it is always just beginning. Namaste. Thank you for joining me for Practice Yogis. If this did help you and this resonated with you and this practice helped you out, I would love to hear from you down below in the comments, anything you'd love to share. Make sure that you do like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so you are as always up to date with what the stars have in store for you. So make sure you check out my astrology videos, my informative concepts and things that I have posted recently. Otherwise, I'm sending so much love during this time, and I will see you in the next one. Sat now.
But there is one thing you're all forgetting.